Hello, mic check. Okay, I think we are recording. Can you still hear me, Barry? You can
Yes.
still hear me from the land down under, and then Francis from also under relative to my location, also the land down under. You can hear us, Franz?
Yep, loud and clear.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So today we're gonna be discussing a short. So it's this the short story is part of this book called the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, and it's of course the short story Nightfall by the great sci-fi author Isaac Asimov. So as a brief background, Nightfall was written in like 1941. It's actually one of his earliest stories. And so the thing is, in here, the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, the purpose of making this anthology, it was edited by this great guy as well, Robert Silverberg, is that uh, they because yearly we have this like Hugo and Nebula that awards like science fiction, right? But that award was written in like 1965. And so they polled people, they asked, okay, but how about sci-fi stories that came before, like 1965? So I think they began 1929 to 1964. They like scoured all the sci-fi short stories that's been written during that time period, and then Nebula is awarded by the Science Fiction Writers of America, the SFWA, and so they ask different authors to nominate what they think is the best science fiction in between prior to the Nebula. So the thing is, the idea is that had these stories been written after 1965, then they would have won the Nebula. But that since Nebula was in 1965 and beyond, so they had no award, so they were immortalized in this collection. And so, of course, if like if you're Isaac Asimov would both vote for a short story. He cannot vote a story written by himself. So that's like that's weird. So so a lot of like professional sci-fi authors during the time nominate what they thought was like for them is like the greatest science sci-fi short story written prior to 1965. And the thing is, in that poll, uh, this short story that we'll be discussing today, Nightfall, actually came up on top. So it's like it was nominated by his peers, his colleagues to be like the ultimate science fiction story prior to 1965. So it's like number one, and then you see big names here like Robert Heinlein, Arthur C. Clarke, and all these people. But yeah, Nightfall, the one that we'll be discussing today, is written in 1941, but was like considered like as the best during that era. Okay, and yeah, so I think in this new layout that you see right here, hopefully it reflects in the actual recorded, because I'll look like an idiot if you can't see this. But we have a quote here that starts very nicely, that kicks off the short story. So it's from Ralph Waldo Emerson. So Asimov said to have been inspired by this quote when writing this short story. So it says here, if the stars should appear one night in 1,000 years, how would men believe and adore and preserve for many generations the remembrance of the city of God? So it's by the poet Ralph Waldo Emerson. So what do you guys think of this? First of all, what do you think of this introductory quote from Emerson? How about let's I think we go with let's go with Francis, because Francis is like the resident poet.
Yes. I think yeah, it's with um with the um do you call this with the early years when we still haven't fully understood the nature of the stars, though many civilizations have already done many studies upon it. But yeah, the shock of witnessing sudden appearance of usually we we observe um the usual group of stars we see every night, like the usual constellations and like that. So when like a new group of stars, perhaps a that may be a meteor shower or just perhaps the after effect of uh collapse of black hole or supernova, then yeah, it would be some kind of like supernatural occurrence to the old world, since we have yet, though these events were recorded in older histories, but to most of the common folk who doesn't have access to this kind of knowledge, that's yeah, would think it as many, depending on their culture and tradition, they would see it as, yeah, as the revelation, or um some kind of revelation from a deity or the god.
Yeah, it could like drive like religion, right? Like something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, how about you, Barry? What do you think of this passage? I think Barry, you're muted. You have it unmute. Yeah.
Sorry
Okay.
about that. So
Yeah.
yeah, from the introduction, like for me, it's like um in like 1,000 years, people would not be able to see the stars because of like you know um sudden changes in our environment, like what we are seeing now, so many gases that are blocking the environments, like natural air or something. So it's
Hmm.
like if you notice as well at night, it you can't see the stars like you see them like in the
Yeah.
past.
Like
So it's something like
and
that. So
yeah.
what if in the future you would not be able to see the stars at night at all
Mhm.
anymore, and then after 1,000 years you'd be able to or like people would be able to see them all of a sudden. Like it questions the I mean the Emerson is like questioning how would people take it when they would
Mhm.
see that sudden difference in the skies at night, something like that.
Yeah, because yeah, I think eventually, like, I think yeah, we are lucky that we live in an era where, because the universe is expanding, right? Yeah, we will still live in an era where, the lights, that like we are the timeline is such that the lights can still reach us. Like you can imagine, yeah, there are like eras where we think like like we will be discussing this story, like they can't imagine, that there can be like millions of suns and things like that. They think like it's like an exaggerated concept, or it's very ridiculous. Yeah. So I put this quote here because I think yeah, it's in this story, as we'll be discussing, Isaac Asimov attempted to answer it by like I think so the way when I read this, the way I interpret it is that like if like if you imagine, so like the aliens, that we see in Nightfall, like an entirely different system that Isaac Asimov beautifully constructed. uh in their like we'll be seeing here, they don't know what stars are, right? Like they only like see it like every 1,000 years. And so it's like, if you imagine civilization, like there's like there are certain events that happen that rare, you would like because in here Ralph Emerson like posed a question. At first glance, you would think that, like, for example, imagine a culture like that don't know rain, like you would describe, like, it's like water falling from the sky, and then sometimes we just take it for granted because we see it every time. But then some, from our point of view, something like, fires falling from the sky, that will be like, right, that will be like something like very dangerous, but something that would be like ridiculously amazing. But yeah, so something that like repeatedly happens, we take it for granted. But something that's very rare, for example, if we imagine stars only appear every 1,000 years, then it could become uh we would think that it's something very majestic that people in the next generation would be remembering. But the nice thing is, Isaac Asimov, like, thought the other way. He was like, no, I don't think that's like, if you think about the psychology of people and all these things, I don't think as we will discuss later, that can actually be catastrophic, like to a civilization where uh that grew in light and are not used to these concepts of stars. So it can be like, you might think that that's a very nice occurrence, but it can be a catastrophic to a specific civilization. All right. So yeah, I think yeah we can do the usual the non-spoiler how do you say this blurb of how what Nightfall is about. Like how would you sell it, France, to someone who is like you haven't heard of Isaac Asimov or Nightfall? Can you give us like a short description of what it tells us and what it's about?
Yeah, yeah, as with what we've discussed earlier, perhaps I'd sell it is as um what if you belong to a civilization. I think we can relate it right now because
Mm,
yeah, we can start with what if you belong with a civilization who doesn't experience total darkness or like with our own sense night, because I think in their world they still experience something like dusk or an afternoon,
mm,
because
mm,
like that. So I think it's like whenever we have brownout or blackouts, but we take it to the extreme. Like I think we have a recent occurrence like the storm in that hit Cebu. I forgot the name.
mm. Yeah.
That storm when people were panic buying generators, fuel to power the generators, and so
Yeah.
like it was total chaos. So think you magnify it.
And that's with people who knew darkness, right? It's like we feel it like
Yeah,
half of our lives. Yeah.
yeah. Even here, us who knew darkness, we still feel very uncomfortable without any kind of light. So we magnify that experience as if let's say you have a phobia of darkness and like that. So yeah, that's how I think I would sell it.
Yeah. And yeah, anything you want to add to that, bar, like how would you like this to someone who like I haven't read it, like Isaac Asimov.
Uh, well, actually, I would actually show them this poem by Emerson,
Mm,
because basically this one of the selling points of the short story itself. This is where the story is like um based upon. So this is like more of a question, and then if they would like if they're interested or if they're curious about it, then they can read the short story, and it's something that you can just tell them without like discussing everything about the story itself.
mm. Okay, yeah, but but so I've read this like a short story before. It's like that's why I included it. It's like one of my favorites. Like if I write like top 10 of my favorite sci-fi, it's probably in there, in the top 10. But like before diving into it, like what were your when and then you just this quote and then Nightfall, uh, what were like your expectations, before you start? Is it like this is gonna be, I don't know, uh like hearing the title Nightfall, like how did you imagine it would be about?
Right.
Um, okay,
But yeah,
go ahead, Bar.
yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, Nightfall, it's gonna be about like night, but it can be it can be it can sometimes be about something else, not really just Nightfall itself. It could be about like um not really science fiction, but
Mm,
horror.
mm,
So when you say Nightfall and science fiction, it's gonna be like it could be with the constellations, it could be
mm,
with the like seasons or something. Yeah, that's gonna be relating to science instead of like occult or something. So that's actually what I was curious about. But then I heard, I mean, I read the first part of it. It's about the stars, so this must be about the constellation then.
yeah. How
Yeah.
about how about you, friends?
For me, I think what came to mind first was something like the movie of Vin Diesel, the Pitch Black,
Oh,
the
the
planet with
Chronicles of Riddick.
total,
That's the one, right?
yeah,
Chronicles of Riddick. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
where
remember.
he was in a planet with it. It goes very dark. You won't really see anything. Then the inhabitants or the inhabitants of that planet will hunt you. So think it.
Yeah,
I thought it was something like that. Where when darkness falls or night falls, something bad happens.
yeah. I remember the
That's
scene
what
like that
came.
movie. They were chasing like the divide between daylight and nighttime. It was insane, right? Like
Yeah,
if
correct.
the nighttime would reach you, you like freeze or something, and then they were yeah. I remember that scene. Yeah. Yeah. Personally, I thought because if you hear Asimov, he's usually associated with the three laws of robotics. So prior to reading Nightfall, and of course this was before I knew that this was one of his earliest stories. He wasn't like doing robots still when he did this. But yeah, I always if I see the name Asimov, I always think okay robots like Nightfall, and then there'll be robots, right? And then yeah, when I read it first, I was very surprised that it's like it's very different from the works that he would later on do. And in fact, this is like in 1941. This is like one of the stories that shoot him up to fame, right? He showed that you can do sci-fi like this because prior to him writing this, and the mature people that were writing sci-fi, following the stories that were included here, sci-fi in the earlier days is usually about like it's not really sci-fi but rather like adventure stories, there are like adventures in other planets, there are people in other planets, but then it's all about okay, there are like Martians or enemies or aliens, and then it's just adventure stories, and usually they how do you say this, they populated the pulp fiction era, the cheap magazines that you can buy with this quote unquote trash stories that they have. But yeah, it's like it's their generation that showed how you can write a proper like sci-fi that's not about okay, there's a new planet, there are aliens and stuff like that. So it's a very new during that time, and yeah, I was really surprised that it wasn't robots. Okay, so I think yeah, very briefly we can now how do you say this, move with, because the main setting of the story happened. So that's why I got this. I googled like Nightfall, how do you say this, background or something like that, Nightfall as I move wallpaper, and then I saw this, right? Because the main setting of the story happened in the observatory, and then them waiting for that how do you say this, eclipse to occur. And so let me just set up the first few scenes. So let me. I only remember Binay. There's a guy named Binay. I forgot the name of the. There was like the scientist. Aton or Atom. Let me just check. It's Aton. Yeah, Aton, the scientist, and then there was a journalist, Theramon, and then he went there to interview because they were saying that there's gonna be this occurrence. For context, there's like it's a universe where there's a planet and then there's like six suns, right? And so like there's at no point, like it takes like a very long time, like within like very many generations, at no point do they experience like darkness, right? Because like when as we have one sun, so the moment it like revolves, then half is always in darkness. But since they have like six suns, it is arranged such that uh it's always light. And in fact, the funny thing is, even when they had the scene that we are seeing in the first part, they already have one sun. The rest were like setting, or I think it's Beta. The name was of the last sun was Beta. Everything was setting, and then even then, the way they describe it, they're like, "Oh, it's already very dark," which is funny, right? Because we have one sun, and then when there's the sun, that's like the light that we know. But them having one sun is like, oh, this is insane, right? So they're used to like having multiple suns, and then that lights them up. And so this journalist, Theramon, went to the observatory and wanted to interview like why do you think why do you think you you have this prediction that there's this entity that would come out with stars, and then people would eventually crazy and stuff like that. But yeah, some just gimmick and stylistic choice that I'm curious what you think, guys. you notice every time Asimov writes a name, there's a number, right? So you know, like Aton 77, and then like Therimon, I don't know, like Barry
762.
666 or something like that, right? Or Marvin 69. So they put names like that, but numbers like that, but I don't know. I'm not sure it does anything other than uh emphasizing to us that okay, these guys are like not Earth people, like we don't do Marvin, we don't put number in our name. But I don't know, like for me, I don't know, it's a bit gimmicky. What do you think about that? Like Aton 77, Theramon, B9 91 or something, Tak 98. Yeah, what do you think about that? Yeah, that stylistic choice.
Well, for me, it's basically just like a last name, but it could mean that he is the 77th Aton that has been named on that
Mm,
city. And
yeah,
Theramon
yeah,
might be a very
it's a very
very
common old name.
common name,
Yeah, okay.
762. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and then B9, I forgot the number. Yeah, but for me, I didn't like, I don't know, like it's a nice curiosity, but I was like, okay, yeah, it could have worked without that, but yeah. But essentially, yeah, that's like the first part. Yeah, that's one of my few nitpicks. For me, it's like it felt gimmicky, those things. But yeah, Barry, can you expound about this? Yeah, the interaction between that journalist and that scientist. Yeah.
You mean about Aton, which is the director of
Yeah,
the
Aton, right? Like he was
Saro?
like, yeah,
Yeah,
he was like being a diva in the beginning, like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't want
yeah.
journalists. Yeah,
It's like wait, let me just check my notes right here because
yeah, yeah.
I put some notes in there. So at the beginning, actually when this started, when I started reading this, I didn't really like see the picture how it is
Mm. Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
beginning because it doesn't really show you like what the environment is like in
Yep.
the beginning. It's just showing you the interaction between
Mm.
Theramon and then Aton, which is the director of Saro University.
Mm.
And then so uh where's that?
Yeah. Aton, yeah. Aton, like, yeah, that's my first impression. He was like some sort of a diva who doesn't want to
Yeah,
be interviewed.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So the first part when I was reading about this, like there was a an interviewer named was it Binay the interviewer?
No, it's Theramon was the interviewer.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
Theramon was the
Binay,
interviewer.
yeah, the Vice President Binay was.
Binay Binay is the telephotographer of the
Yeah,
observatory.
yeah.
So
And then there's another one, the psychologist, right? Like those were the main characters.
Shirin.
Yeah, that one, yes. Shirin, exactly. Yep.
yeah.
The psychologist. Yep.
So there I think if I remember it right, Theramon was interviewing Aton regarding the um the prediction
Mm.
about like the sun disappearing, something like that. And then where's that?
Yeah. But I think, yeah, like the thing that strikes me about this is like in their world, they were like, that thing with the sun disappearing. It's like some sort of revelation or prophecy from some religious group, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like from
Yeah.
a Bible
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, there is like a prediction in there that um they themselves, because they're scientists, they don't believe in it because like what, it is impossible, we have like six suns, and then how is there going
Mm.
to be like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how is all the suns going to disappear like that
Mm. Mm.
all of a sudden? And then um so like Aton just dismisses it as a ridiculous article, um and then yeah, That's from the first part of it, from the first interaction between both of them.
Yeah. But I think yeah,
Yeah.
so I think the how do you say this? The Theramon was like he was he or she, yeah, that's the gender was also it
There,
was yeah, yeah.
it's a
But
he.
yeah, it's a he, yeah. So Theramon was like I think uh like the masses I think like don't buy the how do you say this? The apocalyptic predictions of the cultists, right? And so this is something that
Mm,
struck me as odd was in their world, it's Aton, the scientist, and the observatory. They were actually trying to find, and in fact, they actually found an explanation that it could actually be possible. What they were trying to say, that
yeah.
that things will darken, and of course, something that they couldn't explain from the cultist side was that these entities called the stars. They were like, yeah, I don't know what they're talking about when it becomes very dark, and then there are the stars that the cult in the revelations it says will make people crazy, right? Like, and in fact,
Yeah.
it says it's like the end. It ends the current civilization the
Mm,
moment that star comes out. But yeah, Aton and I think it's Binay. He's like his other expert in there. Uh, they were like they could explain. They have like a scientific explanation where how do you say this? They have a scientific explanation where it could happen that it will the darkness could occur. They could explain that, and in fact, that's the time they were saying that it will happen like on this day according to our calculations. And then the
yeah.
journalist was like but if it fails, then can I write it? Like to show people that you were wrong, and then these cultists were wrong. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
for me that was it's very unique because typically you don't like usually how we live, right? Like usually scientists, you usually have this conflict within science and religion, and then people don't go about okay, the religious people say this, like can we explain it? Yeah, in here, that's the nice thing was that
Yeah.
okay, this is what's the revelation says, and then they were like it turns out that that's what we think it's gonna happen, what the cultists were saying is actually what's gonna happen, right? And then
Yeah.
so this other that Francis mentioned about Shirin, right? Can you tell us, Franz, about this interesting interaction from the so because they were having a hard time believing because in this world, even though it's totally bright, they have like caves and all these things, right? But then they were having a hard time how do you say this, buying into like at least Theramon, like it could like just because it will become like total darkness. I don't think it's a civilization ending event. But then Shirin the psychologist was like but here's why. Can you expound on that, Franz? Shirin the let me see, I forget the number of Shirin, but can you talk, Franz, about Shirin's the psychology behind the darkness and all these things?
Yeah, I think so since it's very hard even for Aton to convince Teramon about uh about the effects of or the possible effects of the um darkening of the sun. So I
Mm.
think they opted to have Theramon experience it firsthand. So what they did was they had torches which was for them. I think it
Mm.
was the first time they
Yeah.
they experienced torches. So
Mm.
they had in the observatory they closed the windows, they covered all the windows, so their only source of light was the um torches. So then they Shirin said that yeah, we'll have you experience it. So they put out the torches and all of them I think Shirin and Aton and the rest of the observatory people already experienced it for a second, and they still felt discomfort, but it was Teramon who was experiencing it for the first time, who
Mhm.
had the full blunt of the experience, since he hasn't really experienced darkness itself. So he first it was hyperventilation,
Mm.
His heart rate was quickening. Then um he would also experience claustrophobia. So uh that's how they're that's how they convinced Teramon of how what the effects of total darkness would be to people. So uh it would be that's what he said, that it would be, for now it's less chaotic for them, since the people around Teramon already have an idea what will happen, and they could control themselves better, but they still couldn't negate the fear
Mm.
resulting the total darkness. So then Shirin postulates that, imagine if this would happen to the common people, where no one would be, it would be uh, an uncontrollable environment. So that's how um, they let Teramon experience what will happen if the the blackening of the sun would really happen, and that's how it would explain the gap every around 2000 years, why there were no records, or it's like civilization has been wiped out.
And
uh,
then yeah, it's and then wiped out by fire, right? It's
yeah,
like
but yeah, because fire would be the first thing you would do to, when you no longer have power to sustain the lights. So
yep.
yeah,
It's yeah,
the
by instinct. That's the first. Yeah,
yeah
that's how we can light it. Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting because they're it's almost like they have they have like these observatories, their telescope. They have like a very nice grasp of science and stuff. But then since their world is very peculiar, like they how do you say this? They didn't have the need to invent like light bulbs or something like that. Something right, something like we've mastered early because like it's some like one of the how do you say this? Like one of the hallmarks of like turning point in the human civilization was like the discovery of fire, right? And the idea
yeah
that at night, like I don't know, like I don't think people know like what's like the first instance someone was like, oh, fire, and then yeah, but it was like a turning point where aside from it can protect you, you can cook and all these things, it allows you to do things on the during the other half of the day where like even if it's very dark, but then because I think yeah inherently I don't know, but like it's like built into us like there's something about darkness, right? That is like I don't know, something that you avoid or uh so by instinct like our civilization really had to the moment we mastered fire and then eventually we had electricity and we have light bulbs and all these things. Yeah, the funny thing for them, fire was like yeah they have fire, but then they didn't actually need it, right? They were like okay,
yeah
but it's
it
always bright.
wasn't used
Yeah.
for lighting.
Yeah, exactly. And then they didn't have to invent. There was no need for electricity and stuff. So there was no need for like not electricity, lights rather, light bulbs and all these things. And I think the funny thing is there was like a portion where they kind of made like some sort of amusement right? Like where it's dark.
Yes.
Yeah, I
The
remember that.
the long, like, it's like a, I think it was like a train ride.
Yeah, it's like a
Um
horror train or something. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. So I remember that people pay to go there, and then there are some people who like were not themselves anymore after that 15 minutes
Yeah.
of being in the darkness.
And then there were people who died. Like
Were there people who died? I think
no,
they
there were people that was that's why it was closed down. There were like I think
okay.
there's like some statistic like I don't know like something out of 10, and then
Yeah.
those who survive they like develop this crazy
They
thing,
have the fear.
yeah,
Yeah.
they were not themselves, they became crazy, yeah, they were like and that was only like 15 minutes, so
Yeah.
you can imagine like yeah, so darkness, yeah, to these people darkness was like how do you say this, darkness was like
Really,
really really
you
very weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when it's like losing Wi-Fi for the kids in this
Yeah.
station.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's like something like that's always there that like they take for granted, right? It's like
Yeah,
air, like
Yeah.
breathing air, right? It's like they have like it's always there. What are you talking about, right? Like, but then you can imagine an event that's like for us to us, right? Like suddenly but then something will happen and then the oxygen's gone, right? So it's something like that. So to them, yeah, it's like a lifeline, and then when the nightfall happened, yeah, it was how do you say this? It was, well, they think that was they were that's why they were waiting for it, because they thought they had records and all these things every 2,000 years the civilization will boom, and then at a certain point it dies, and then it ends with fire. And then yeah, they were trying to understand. They think at that moment they thought they understood why. And yeah, I was very fascinated with Binay and Theramon when they were talking about like when Binay already, because in here they in their universe they discovered like the laws of gravitation late.
Yeah.
And then I like the fact when Binay said that but in a universe where where they can see that, like where it is simple, quote unquote, where you only have one sun, and then you only have, and essentially they were describing our solar system, like then imagine you are living in the on that system. Then you would discover early the laws of gravitation. You would know that the orbits are elliptical and all these things. And then the nice thing that I like is someone commented, but actually it's actually impossible, because if such a system would exist, then by virtue of the fact that the sun is, there's only one sun, and then that body will rotate, then half of the time it will be diurnal. He said half of the time it will be in full darkness. And he said, I couldn't imagine life, happening with half of the time it's dark, half of the time it's bright. So it's like that alone was enough for him to dismiss, right? So it's
Yeah.
very, yeah, it's very fascinating to me,
It's a
like
nonsense.
exactly, yeah, like
Yeah.
what type of things that we think like it's very ingrained to us, like we couldn't even imagine. So it's like it actually like limits your imagination, right? Like we couldn't imagine uh like we take it for granted, and then when we imagine stuff, we think that life should be like this, or life should be like that, but it's very limiting, because we always base it on what we know and on ourselves. So in fact, yeah, that was very nice when he said, but that's actually very theoretical, what I was saying, because if there's only one sun and then one planet, and then they are only revolving around one sun, then it's dark half of the time, which is, and then he said, which is impossible. Life couldn't develop in that in that, yeah. So I find that very fascinating, because for example, like if you look at like searches for intelligence, for example, usually, like it's very narrow, in a sense that like the way we define life, it's so close to like what we have, like in a sense, for example, like how do we know, like time wise, for example, right? Or in terms of metabolism, what if like let's say we look at Mars, or we look at other planets, and we think it's quote unquote dead. But what if there are people living there, but then the way their time runs is like it's either very slow or very fast. So that to us, like let's say you see what I mean, like the rocks in Mars, for example. What if those are actually living, but then they move like once every, I don't know, 1 million years, right? And then to them that's like alive, right? Like right, you see what I mean, like okay,
Yeah.
it moves like that. And then or maybe there are like, so to them they would like they wouldn't even comprehend us, because we will be, to them we will be like right. And in fact, yeah, I can imagine, you can imagine other, like in the opposite spectrum, where people like could be living in a very different time scale than us. And again, that restriction that I showed is only about time. And yeah, very nice in Nightfall, they talk about this darkness thing. So yeah, it's very fascinating what a bias that you have in your, like the current environment that you live in, the bias that it can give you, in defining like what life is, what could be possible, and all these things. And also, yeah, it's so in here I also found so Binay also explained, like before he talked about that, like the two planetary system, he also explained like how he thinks this darkening would happen, right? And essentially, it's essentially an eclipse. And so yeah, it's very nice, because like you can really see here that Asimov's really very knowledgeable, because this exactly how we discovered like the planet Neptune, right? So by looking at the weirdness in the orbit of Uranus, they said, if we apply the formula, it should move like this, but then it's moving this way. So then there must be like another object or another planet beyond it that is, perturbing its rotation. And essentially, they did that. That's like the calculation that they. I think the planet. I think it's called Lagash, right? Their planet.
Yeah.
And so by observing, the movements of their suns and their planet, they were able to identify that there's like an invisible, like essentially there's like a moon. There's like they said, we think there's a body that if that body is there, then it explains the orbit, and then every 2000, I think it's 2049 years in the story, it will
Yeah.
like it will move and then cover in this particular configuration that last sun. So there's a moment where it covers it, and then it will cause darkness for like I think it's like around 1 day or something like that. But essentially that was his explanation. But then we can't see it because how do you say this? We can't see it because the light from that moon is so it is overwhelmed by all the other six stars. And I think this is like my one of my favorite parts is then the other guy asked Binay, so do you think so? How do we know that there are no other suns that are being overwhelmed? Like how come? What if there are like still suns aside from the six that they know? What if there are still other suns that are far away, but then we can't see it because how do you say this? Because their light is overwhelmed. And then that's when Binay says, I also have an explanation for that. That's actually what I think the stars could be. He said it could be that, so the moment the eclipse happened, it could be that there are like, and then here he said there could be like around 10 or 12, or let's say order 20 suns somewhere beyond, so that when the eclipse happens, that's the time that we see those suns. And then this is the nice thing. He said, but I can't imagine it being, because the cultists said the moment in their records, the moment they see the stars, there are like millions of them. And then Binay was like, I couldn't imagine a universe that big. He said like there's no place that you could put those suns, millions of suns, maybe 10 or 6 of them somewhere far, but then yeah, they couldn't comprehend that they could be millions of suns. And then in fact, I think somewhere he said that would mean that we are very insignificant, like we are very tiny in this, that can't be. So then they thought, that can't be the explanation. So it's very funny because he already got the explanation, but then he stopped because he said, that can't be, the universe can't be that big, it only like it's like in this container. So yeah, that was very fascinating to me. And then I think, can you tell us about I remember there was like the mob outside, right, France? You remember there was like
Yeah,
well,
but
well they were
I
hiding in
think
there, yeah.
yeah, there was some yeah, so that was when the final sun beta finally set, and um the last sun was also in eclipse. So I think before that, there was during that eclipse, the start of eclipse, there was an unnatural silence because people
Mm,
were
yep, yep.
stunned of the darkness. So and then there was it's like the silence, the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when after people already felt the full effect of the darkness, so that was when they started lighting fires and chaos erupted in the city. So
Mm,
uh the mob was I think even before that, since even before when they started this experiment, one of the reasons why Aton didn't want to speak with Teramon is because uh the media mocked them for their
yeah.
the media
Ah,
mocked them for their view of that apocalyptic scenario
Mm,
would that would start. So even though this is something this is one of the I think this is what Asimov was also trying to convey here in this short story. So the thing that's ironic here is um one of their sources on how they what you call this, they postulated or hypothesized this apocalyptic event was coming from the cult itself,
Yep.
right?
The
The
cultist, yes. With
yeah,
a capital C. Yeah.
yeah, the cult where they recorded about that stars appearing every 2000 years. And what's funny is it was the cult that spurred the people to attack those so the people already know about what the people in the Atom's team in the observatory is doing. Like they
Mm,
were researching about this eclipse or this event. So what the cult did was they spurred the people to go against them. Like they
yeah.
were making Atom's team, the scientists, as offerings. Is
Yeah. I
like
think it's
it
like,
would
yeah.
appease. I think if they will eliminate Atom's team, like the darkness will fade away.
Mm,
So that's
yeah.
what spurred the mob. So they were
Yeah.
marching
But
from the city
yeah.
towards uh towards the observatory.
Yeah. But
So
was I
this
imagining it, or was there like there's something like along the lines of like, you don't like, we already know that it's gonna be there. You don't need like explanation. Like you don't need to
yeah,
invoke science, right? Or am I imagine it's there, right? It was there, right? Like something like you actually don't need, science and observation. We already know that the darkness is
yeah,
gonna
I
happen like
think
that. And
it
then as
was
scientists, they wanted to explain why. Yeah.
Yeah. This is in
yeah,
the book of Revelations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like something that they don't want is, What are you doing? You don't need to explain that. I mean, we believe that it's there, and then yeah, that's
Yeah,
uh
before they were able to barricade themselves in the observatory, there was a cultist that got through, right? You remember?
yeah, yeah.
Ah,
The
yes.
one that they
That's
that the one that they asked to sit down or something.
yeah, they 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 even gang up on him to
Yep.
try to imprison him. So
Yeah.
yeah, the cultist was trying to disrupt the recordings because I think this is also I think this is one of yeah, I forgot this part. This was also one of the things that I think Isaac Asimov was trying to convey in this story about religious fanaticism. So
Mm,
on how it could be very dangerous. So one thing religion is good at doing is to keep people ignorant or to prevent them finding out the truth or just let people don't really care much about the truth of what they believe. So and when things go like that and if you don't really care to know what the truth is and something like this happens, people can easily get dissuaded and
mm,
yeah, they can just be led along the nose by these people, influential people, and yeah, they could start violent acts like this, like riots and lynching. So they
yeah.
were though the eclipse, if people really knew that the eclipse would naturally just stop without doing anything. Yeah, I think they wouldn't really do any acts of violence towards Aton's team or the researchers team. It's just like with our ancestors before, like when there was an eclipse, they would make loud sounds,
Yep.
something like that, rituals
Mm.
to appease the gods or
Usually, yeah.
drive
Usually like the
away
sacrificial rituals coincide
uh
with
Yeah.
like eclipses and all these things, yeah.
or drive
Yep.
away the
Exactly.
monster or creature that is
Mm,
eating the sun, like
yep.
Fenrir and Bakunawa.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've seen the movie Apocalypto, it's somehow similar to what's like being
Yeah.
describe here about the eclipse.
Yeah. I think a more modern movie that reminded me with, yeah, after Francis explained that, is Don't Look Up. The one in Netflix. You
Oh
heard of
yeah,
this? You've seen this, France? The one with Leonardo DiCaprio? Uh
I still haven't watched it.
but it's something along those lines. There's like the media, and then people, that like scientists saying, "Oh, this is gonna happen," and then they're like, "What are you talking about?" It's something. Yeah, it reminded me of this. Yeah, what you said. But I think, yeah, Barry, we forgot about. I think I just remembered, they had like, how do you say this? They hid some people, right? Like,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
they hit some people. They call it a what
safe
was
house,
the term of it? Sorry,
safe house.
yeah, something like a safe, or like, how do you say this?
it's like a bunker or something.
Yeah, exactly. Something like
Like
that. That can survive like a nuclear war or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
but in that there was no light.
Yes.
There's no light on that. So they just like they're just hoping that people in there are going to survive
Mm.
the eclipse after they go out in there. I think that was discussed after Faro and what's the other guy's
Yeah,
name?
the two, yeah, guys that did the dome thing, right?
Yeah, the dome
Those were
thing.
the guys,
Faro
yeah.
and Yimot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These names are
So
very weird.
yeah, very weird names, but they were the two who actually like first experimented on darkness,
The darkness,
and
yeah.
like they tried to by the dome closed all the windows, and then so
Yeah.
they were actually before they put, I think that's before they put people into the like safe house or something. They tried to do it themselves first and then see it if people can survive
Mm.
with that event.
Yeah, but I
How they last,
think
yeah.
the safe house also has the torches.
Yeah. They have, yeah, like, yeah, they light that torch house. Yeah, I was reminded of it because, yeah, I want to ask you some, they brought up something very interesting. They said, maybe, because we are used to the brightness, and so they said, okay,
Mhm.
we found this darkness very weird, very, you know like hysteria inducing. But and then I think someone said, but if, like, imagine if, like, we have like babies, and then they grow up in that environment where it
Yeah.
is dark. From their point of view, it would be normal, right? And then they wouldn't understand, what are these people afraid? That's the norm. Everything is dark. And yeah, so my question is, do you think that is do you buy that? Because, yeah, I have a feeling, for me, instinctively, like, darkness seems to be like, it's something that, I don't know, like, by instinct, this is very scary, even though I don't know, like, it's something that is ingrained to a child. But I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if I buy what they said. Now, if a child grew up in a dark, and then they would think that that's like the normal, and then they wouldn't be scared of it. And in fact, maybe it's the brightness that will, like, drive them insane. What do you think about that?
Um, I don't think they would be unnecessarily afraid, but uh, they would still be cautious because darkness would rob us of our sight. So sight is since that's how, if as a creature you are dependent on sight. So yeah, it would still remain uncomfortable because that's one of the things you would use to navigate,
Mm,
detect,
mm, mm,
keep safe. Example, if you're a non-predatory animal, so you would always keep watch of your surroundings using your sight. But if
mm.
you're a creature that doesn't need sight, so you would compensate it with other senses like smell,
Or
thermal,
sonar.
yeah, sonar,
So
thermal, also by vibrations, feelings like that.
Mm,
So they wouldn't necessarily be afraid, but they would still be cautious of the
mm,
darkness unless they're a creature that has no natural predators, or some if darkness wouldn't really pose danger to them, like the cave fish. They don't really have natural predators, so they can just live in total darkness in caves
Mm.
without eyes, and they sense their prey through yeah, like temperature or something like that. Or
Mm.
they're like fishes, they have this I forgot the term, but they have something like a magnetic field or electromagnetic field running around
The
their
birds,
body.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They can detect also the electromagnetic fields of other
Mm.
animals, so that's
Mm.
how they navigate the dark waters in a cave. So yeah, if it's not necessarily they won't be afraid. Yeah, it would be normal for them, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't really be afraid.
Still gonna be challenging. So
Yeah.
yeah, in other words, yeah, you can't use that like it's still bound to fail, right? Even though you argue, these kids would grow and then darkness will be their norm. Yeah, it's still bound to fail. And think yeah, I think that's what happened in the ending, right? In the like last few paragraphs. Can you describe? I think yeah, eventually yeah, that's very nice. The last part, like I think the last line was something like, "The long night had come again," right? And then people were like, "Someone clawed at the torch and it fell and snuffed out. In the instant, the awful splendor of the different stars leaped nearer to them." And then I think yeah, I think it came to pass. Or I don't know, do you think it's a bit vague or like yeah, because the way I interpret it is like they really the moment they saw without a doubt that the stars were there, right? And so essentially then the theory that Binay proposed, that there are like millions of stars, then the universe is insanely big, then we are really like a tiny insignificant portion of the universe, like we don't matter, right? Like they realize the moment they saw that like there are millions of other suns right there, they realize at that moment that like we don't matter, the universe is indifferent. And in fact like one of my favorite things about this is like towards that end when people realize that it kind of went into like some sort of a Lovecraftian territory, like right, like where like
Yeah.
like the cosmos is against you. And then what makes it like very evocative and very powerful for me is like there's no monster, there's no right, because in Lovecraft, there's like there's this
Yes.
unknown thing, but then there's like an entity, an alien or something. But this like this reality, right? Like they realize that gosh, Lagash is like there are millions of stars. It's way bigger than we can imagine. It's like mind-blowingly huge. We are nothing. And I think yeah, that realization really like they were like, oh man, oh my god, what was happening? And then I think yeah, that caused the decline. And that's something yeah, they thought they were very significant because they can't imagine a universe that's like not made for them. Like they're like an insignificant part of it. And yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah,
Like
I
how about you?
think
What do you think of the ending? Yeah, Franz. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think in this case, I think this would be pretty specific for Lagash and
Mm,
its people, because if we compare it to our own world, or and then our own people, there's always there are always oddities among us people. Like there are people who don't care what's happening. Like they would just continue what they're doing and like that.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I think they may be a collapse, but there would still be people that wouldn't really be significantly affected by this kind of
Yeah.
events, because if you each to each
Like
person's mind, it's unique what you would think. For example, unless that this is also one of the problems, because unless if everyone is heavily indoctrinated that
mm,
when the stars show, it is an apocalypse, so that would drive you to certain behaviors. But there will still be oddities among for example, if we just look at our own uh kind, not the one from Lagash, there
mm,
would be oddities like, there, what are those lights?
mm.
Maybe something's just wrong. Let's just continue what we do. Let's just
Yeah,
stay
yeah.
at home, do
It's like
nothing.
like they won't be bothered by the new cosmic perspective, is what
Yeah,
you're saying, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. They're
There's
like,
I
okay,
think
so what? Like
so
I still need to sell. Yeah.
yeah, there's still more important things. Yeah, but yeah, the problem is the cult driving the rest of the people mad. So yeah, it would really um cause a collapse in the community. But yeah, it would affect those people who would who aren't heavily affected by this phenomenon, or they have something to do. Like for example, let's say there are blind people, so they would
Mm.
continue their lives
Yeah, they're
as
like in total darkness.
yeah, they would just continue their lives as it is. So I think in this case with Lagash, they maybe there's no genetically, or there's no occurrence of blindness. Maybe their eyes
Mm.
are extra robust
Yeah.
that
Yeah, because
they
that's good. Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah, like
they
blind people.
aren't, yeah, blind people, uh or people who don't really who have their way of thinking isn't normal. So
Mm.
some people won't be affected, but since they are a minority, so yeah, it would still cause the collapse
Yeah,
of
because if only blind people survive, yeah, I think it's understood that okay, then then it's over.
yeah.
Everyone went crazy except for the blind people. Yeah.
Maybe they could still continue, but
Yeah, but
they would need to adapt. But yeah,
yep.
I think this is very specific to Lagash, where
Mm, mm,
most of their people aren't blind, or they are really heavily affected, because um you can't really eliminate the possibilities of oddities among other people on how they perceive things.
yeah. How about you, Barya? What do you think about the end that ending? Like, do you think Asimov should have continued? You should have showed us what happens, right? When the eclipse was there and he stopped it, right? Like the moment there was
Yeah,
eclipse, okay. Yeah.
I think it's like somewhat like a cliffhanger.
Mhm.
Asimov may have like stop it there for us to think for ourselves what may have happened to Aton and the rest of the group while the cultists are attacking their
Mm,
like the observatory. And like because as as far as I remember, was it Theramon or Aton who cried like a child at the end because he said like, oh, the stars, they're everywhere, we didn't
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
something like that.
Yep,
And
yep.
then like it could be that he was amazed by the stars
Mm,
at the same time feeling the um like are you afraid of the dark vibes in his body, like claustrophobia or something like that, madness, something. And then I think Asimov just put it as a cliffhanger for us to like think about possibilities. What may have happened? Did they like end up getting killed by the cultists? Did they
mm,
survive? Did the darkness that happened in there drive them mad as well? Because everything went dark. The
yeah.
torches were shut off as well.
I think yeah. I think it was like Aton who cried, and I think yeah, like that one of the last paragraphs, like he described Aton. Yeah, it was like explicit that he was like scared, and I think
Yeah,
it's nice to show this because like Aton was supposed to be like the highest tier guy who was like prepared for this. He knew, right?
Yeah.
He had like
yeah,
explanation all these things, but then in this paragraph it says Aton somewhere was crying, whimpering horribly like a terribly frightened child, and then he said. Stars, all the stars. We didn't know at all. We didn't know anything. We thought six stars is a universe, is something the stars didn't notice is darkness forever and ever, and the walls are breaking in, and we didn't know, we couldn't know, and anything. Yeah, he was like getting crazy. Like so like the last part of what he was saying was like almost incomprehensible, and then yeah. And then he was like the intellectual elite that was prepared. So I think yeah,
yeah,
it's nice that yeah it was a cliffhanger, but I believe that Asimov really is telling us that yeah everyone failed. Like they really this is how it is every 2,000 years. Like okay, people this happens and then people go crazy and stuff. But yeah, the interesting thing is, so here's my question, because the editor of this book, Robert Silverberg, with the permission of Isaac Asimov, they ac- he actually took that story, and then both of them expanded it into a novel. So
Yeah,
there's actually
that's the first Nightfall I read.
oh, oh, oh
I
no,
think it was you who I think it was you
no, but
who told me about it. I found it
I know,
in
but I said that. Well, for me personally, I think that the original short story was better. Like you didn't have
yeah.
to. I think it
in-
loses. I don't know. It loses the power and the impact when you then talk about. Okay, then this is what happened during the
Yeah.
eclipse. I think that ending is perfect, right? Like the eclipse, and then it's gone, and then it's left to the readers to imagine. Okay, then this is what happened, and then another. They will wait another while before a new civilization will rise up from that collapse. But yeah, I don't know why Asimov agreed to there's a novel, but it's not, well, for me at least, it's not. So you read France,
Mm.
that whole novel? That's like 300 pages
Yeah,
or something.
that's the first Nightfall I read.
Yeah. So
It was
yeah, that's
already a long time ago, but I think the novel was more on it's
I
like
know.
investigative, it's like detective like.
Yeah. It's nice that you pointed that out. It's actually one of the things from what I remember that I don't like about the novel. So another thing that I like about Nightfall is that it like it refuses to age. It's very classic science fiction in a sense that like it's very sci-fi, right? You can see, like
Yeah,
you
correct.
Asimov really flexed his knowledge about, like how planets work and all those things, how they discover, if there's a planet there or not, even if you can't see it. But the thing about it as well is like he really focused on the psychology, and then the culture, the interaction between like a new phenomenon and the culture of people. Because most of the like sci-fi from this book, for example, I read like old sci-fi, right? It's like it's nice, but then sometimes it takes you out of the story because they rely too much on like the technical like science. And so you notice here Asimov like didn't introduce anything that's like, oh, there's a gadget or there's a device. That it's not like that, right? It's very like almost very generic, right? It's nothing like you understand what I mean. Like it's like it's almost timeless, whereas there are other stories where like, old stories, old science fiction were written during the days where, they're still inventing computers and stuff, and then people are still using punch cards, right? You imagine like computer before,
Yeah,
right? They have like punch cards that
Yeah.
they push
yeah.
in there. It takes you out of the of the story because you really know that sci-fi was written. They were like, oh, then the aliens are controlling us with the computer, and then they
Yeah.
insert the punch card. I'm like, okay, what are you talking about? So they couldn't imagine that a world that of course we live now, where
Yeah,
computers, what are punch, people don't even know what punch cards anymore, right?
not with
What are you
this.
talking about? This is the memory and everything, it's obsolete. So that's one thing I like about Nightfall, is there's nothing there that was like a technology that was like a product of its time. That for me is like one of the pitfalls of the sci-fi, lesser sci-fi authors that who did sci-fi during the time. They were very reliant on the wow factor of new technology and stuff. But then, yeah, when you read it now, it's so dated. It's like it takes you out of the, even though the story was very nice and all these things, it takes you out because, yeah, it's so old. They're
Yeah.
you,
I
you
think
know
I think the only gadget that was introduced in there is the camera.
Yeah, camera,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
it.
mean it's still
That's it. But
pretty.
it
Yeah, it's pretty yeah, like he didn't like,
yeah,
their camera is do this, do that. He didn't have to do that. He really focused
yeah,
on this very, this very general phenomenon that anyone can relate. So yeah, in that way it's really timeless. And I think, well, I don't know if you're familiar. You can check this out, and then the other stories here are very nice, but I really agree that this one is like, the top among these other stories. The other standout author here is, how do you say this? Arthur C. Clarke. Because when they did this nomination, that the unique thing about Arthur C. Clarke, of course, they only had to, because the rule was like it has to be like one per author. But the nice thing is when people wrote this, two of Arthur C. Clarke's story actually went in. So it's like that's how good he is. When people nominated, two of his stories went in, but then they have to drop the other one. They're like, but it should only be one.
Mm.
Yeah, so like, yeah, maybe we can look. It's like the story of Arthur C. Clarke that went in here is I think Franz, you would be interested in it because it's also like the intersection between religion and science. It's called the 9 billion names of God. I don't know if you can say it.
Yeah.
The 9 billion names of God. So the premise is like there's a monastery and then they have a computer that they leave to run, and then it's trying to find the name, like all the possible permutation of names. And then one day that computer will, they say that okay, the apocalypse will happen when that computer will be able to write the name of God. That's, yeah, it's very weird, but it's very good. It's very good. Yeah, it's called the 9 billion names of God. So yeah, it's like his story that went in there. But yeah, for me personally, that's like Nightfall is like, top class in science fiction. So yeah, so their point was like, had it been written after Nebula, no doubt it would have won the Nebula award. Okay, but yeah, I think that's the first Asimov fronts that we did, right, in the sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've been doing, yeah, it's the first Asimov. So maybe we can look at, yeah, other works of
By
Clark and Asimov
10
and all
years.
these things. Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, one of the other, I said, yeah, it's like maybe one of the other short story at the top of my head that can rival Nightfall is All You Zombies by Robert Heinlein. You saw the movie Predestination, right? We watched it. The You remember the one that we watched in our house, Predestination,
I can't remember.
the one where like the time travel story, Predestination, the one
Mm,
where it's like time travel and then he was like an agent and all these things. It's yeah, but it's very good. Maybe we can look at that as well. The
yeah.
it has a very nice it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit dated, but it's the concept is very mindfuck, but yeah, it's also very good. Okay? But yeah, anything else you want to add about the Nightfall before we advertise the last for the year? Go ahead.
Yeah. Did you know that there is actually a movie
Oh,
that's Nightfall, but
night
it's like a loose interpretation
mm,
about
is it
the
is it is it
novel.
modern or
It was made on there are two actually that I
yeah.
found.
I
It's
think I kind of
one
remember
is
one like 80s or something, right? There's like 80.
1988.
Yeah, that
So
one.
that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the year that you were born,
Yeah, I
1988.
haven't seen this, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's another one that's the year 2000, but it's a loose interpretation. So
Mm.
Maybe
they
it's
didn't really get
based
another
on the
like
novel, not
Yeah,
the short
maybe,
story.
yeah. I think the
Because
novel
the
would be
novel
a
is
better,
longer.
yeah, would be a better source material for a film if they
Yeah.
want
There's
to,
there's
yeah.
yeah.
more drama in the novel.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I
but
think, yeah, they don't,
it's so loose. So I checked the reviews of it. It's the people are like not really um very,
yeah.
you know.
That's a problem nowadays. Like you don't have, well, that's in my opinion, you don't have to turn everything into a movie. Like there are some
Mm,
works of art that only work in their specific medium. So
yeah.
I don't. Have you seen like I don't know if you've seen Yu Yu Hakusho live action. I don't know if it's good. I still haven't seen it. Yeah.
I have seen it, but
Is it all right or
yeah, it's all right, but it's so short.
mm,
Like
I don't
it's just 5 episodes for like
I
the
don't like
whole
this. Yeah, I
season.
don't like this current trend of like making live actions out of everything. This is so weird to me. Like it's almost as like they don't have like new ideas anymore. Like Disney, for example, they just keep on making live actions of like uh old like Disney cartoons. I think they should leave those alone. But yeah, if I have a request, the live action that I want them to make is Emperor's New Groove. You see, you see, you saw, Franz, Emperor's New Groove. How
Yeah.
about Barry? You know Emperor's New Groove?
Yeah, I think I've
Yeah,
Not
seen it.
Cus-
really.
really
Maybe,
Cusco,
maybe.
Cusco.
The emperor who turned into a llama.
Yeah, the llama. He became a llama, and then there's this. It's so funny. It's like
Then there's Grom.
It's probably the funniest like
Okay, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
Cusco.
Then
Yeah, they should turn that into a live. But yeah, I
that would
don't.
really be
Yeah,
funny.
this is weird to me. The live action and stuff.
no, I think live action is okay as long as The creation team does it well.
Mm,
For
like not
example,
just for the sake
like
of yeah.
yeah, like Samurai X. Samurai X is one of the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, I think
Even
yeah, some live options, yeah, they
even
work, yeah.
the Japanese live action of Death Note,
Yeah.
it was
I
very
think
Yeah,
good.
the Japanese one was the good one.
Yeah.
about the
The
Hollywood one.
American one,
The
stinks,
one
man.
where
And
he saw who's this the Shinigami his
That was
reaction. He was like "Ah!" That was
no,
the worst.
even the deaths in there in the Hollywood
Yeah, no,
version,
I
the
did I
deaths are
did
like
finish it when
absurd.
I saw that scene where he saw the Shinigami Ryuk.
yeah,
I
but
saw that scene.
Yeah,
Willem
I was like,
Willem
this is
Dafoe made a very good Ryu.
yeah. Oh,
that was
was it
William Dafoe.
that
Yeah,
wasn't
it was
I was him. Okay.
Willem
Yeah,
Dafoe
but then the
was
reaction because in the anime or in the manga, it was very cool, right? He was like, Light
yeah
was
Yeah,
just, he was shocked in at first, but then he was like, I was expecting you. It
yeah.
was very cool. But then there was like, and then yeah, for some reasons, I watch that sometimes in YouTube, just that scene. That just that if I want to laugh. Yeah. Like, okay, let me look again at the Hollywood L.
How about the potato chip scene?
Oh, did they recreate that? I don't think I didn't
I
reach
have
that because like I said, I
I
stopped where he was shouting with Ryu.
I haven't watched it also. I was asking if you might have seen.
No, I have.
And
Yeah,
that
maybe I should watch it if like yeah, if
that
I want.
that was one of the most epic.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, but yeah, it's weird. Yeah, maybe we can yeah look at like Death Note like manga and stuff, shorter mangas. We did because we were doing like Junji Ito, like
I
later
think
parts,
there
but
are many animes that can be done in live
in like
action. There are many historic like Monster by Naoki Urasawa. I think it's
oh
very
that has a live action. I love that. I love that anime
they
and
don't
manga.
they still it was supposed to be directed by Benicio del Toro but they stopped it.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
it's very
that would make for a very good film. Yeah, usually maybe slice of life films is fine, but yeah,
yeah.
usually with a I don't know. Yeah, even like I don't know. I think like we even with like like superhero stuff like with Marvel and stuff, they make it into
Yeah.
live films. Not, but
They
even now people are like done with like superhero movies. It's like overdone, right?
they're
If you like
they're
the
onto
sales of the
fantasy
Marvel
now.
thing, right? The Miss Marvel, it was like
Yeah.
uh,
uh it flopped. So
yeah. If not hard,
we used to watch I used to watch like every time there's a new Marvel film, I used to like rewatch all the films and stuff. But now
yeah.
you have to watch a lot of series. You have to like you feel like I don't like watching it anymore because I feel like if I want to watch Marvel, then I have to watch the Marvel series. Then I need to watch, She-Hulk. I need to watch yeah, it's insane. It's
Yeah.
like yeah,
I think
it's not
it
worth it anymore.
also with the casting and the director because
Yeah. I
yeah,
think yeah, after
you have
Endgame and
Thor,
then Far From Home, that was like
Aquaman.
the last
Yeah.
they fell down starting with the Multiverse of Madness. I think that was like that was I didn't like that. And then everything after that wasn't very good. I think the last one that's like a bit decent is the Guardians 3. I think that's the yeah. But then, Wakanda Forever is not good. Love and Thunder is not good. You
Yeah,
know,
Love and Thunder is like
it's
a
it
children's movie.
I know it sucks. Even Quantumania it sucks. It's not
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. And then
I did watch it.
Eternals it sucks. The Eternals also it sucks. No one's talking about the Eternals in any of the universe, right? In that
Actually,
movie, the giant guy came out. No one's talking
yeah,
about that.
exactly. There are more people talking about like Ten Rings.
Ten Rings
Do you know the
the
Ten Rings?
Shang-Chi, Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, then
That
the
I like because
Eternals.
I like kung fu. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
There's
I
new
like kung
Kung
fu
Fu
stuff.
Panda.
Oh, yeah, the 4, Kung Fu Panda 4. Yeah, yeah, those are the things that but this December we're gonna watch Gumborza, the only MMFF
Oh,
we will be watching.
Is that
Metro
new
Manila
film?
film. Huh?
Is that a new one?
Yeah, there's an upcoming film, Gumborza, in one of the entries for the Metro Manila Film Festival. So that
Is it
we're gonna watch.
indie? An indie
I don't know if
film?
it's indie. They have like there's like a known one of the priests is like a known, but it looks good. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but it looks good. Yeah. But in any case, yeah, like, I think we can now announce the so that was like episode 11 of Book Lovers Club, Isaac Asimov's Nightfall. Next is gonna be yeah. So here's like I'm I'm also currently reading this. So I want so this is book one, right? But I kind of
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
do this next year.
I, that's book five.
No, this is book one of this is a different series.
Ah,
This one is Steven Erickson. This is Brandon Sanderson, right?
okay.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I want to do this next year is because and this is way thicker than this. This is like
Yeah.
I thought I'm already like at around 600 700 plus, and then it's like still halfway. And here, if you're like at 600, you're almost done. So that's how insanely long this is. But so that's why I
Yeah.
was I was thinking we do it every like 3 months. So like for example, we schedule it on March, this guy, for example, and then the next one is every 3 months. So that in time for I want to do that because book five of this series comes out December next year. So I'm so
Ooh.
excited for that actually. So then I don't like I don't know anyone I can talk to who like knows this, and I want I want to geek out about this, you know. This is very good. So but
Yeah.
yeah, we should read this in December, and then maybe
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe if we can come back to this is also very epic, right?
Book
And yeah,
Malazan.
yeah, the Malazan book. Have you started it? Like France and Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Just the
started it.
first part.
First part.
I'm
First
I'm still
I
in
like
the first
There's a
few
lot to take
chapters.
into.
the intro is very good.
I
Like the
was
intro is this about the wind vane. So the
I
first
was
part, that was Paran, right? He was still young.
Yeah,
yeah.
Janus Paran,
Janus
and
Parang.
then there's this girl that got recruited by yeah. Okay, I remember the first parts. Yeah,
The first thing I got into was the map.
Yeah, the
no.
map
We
is very
The,
I
nice.
the the
studied the
the one
map
that I
there.
really like, and this is something that is a first for me in fantasy series, is the dramatis personae. You know
Ooh,
this.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Because like usually they don't do that, right? You only see the map and then either
yeah,
glossary. In here, it's somewhat intimidating because like oh, who are these names? And so I like reading it on a physical format because I always come back. Like they're like eventually you reach a point. Okay, who's this guy again? Okay, he's part.
yeah. I think
But so
it's
far,
also better if you for epic books like that. Think it's better if you read
yeah,
the characters,
exactly.
or you can go back to somewhere where you can
Yeah,
review
the some parts.
because
But yeah,
you
some of the thing I love about this, I think you'll also notice is when you read this, like there's no clear like it's very hard to root for someone because like
yeah.
yeah, it's
There's
very
so
good.
many.
Like it's like from this point of view, okay, this guy's like the hero. You think he's the protagonist, and then there's another guy, and then they're gonna be conflicted, and then you don't know who to root for
Yeah.
because like you saw the side of this other guy, and then you so it's very good. It's actually pretty complex, and yeah, the Steven Erickson said he does not do exposition. That's what makes this series hard because sometimes because usually like for example even the Way of Kings, right? Usually they have characters where just so they can explain the magic system to the audience. There's a character who doesn't know about the magic, and then people will be
Mm-hmm.
like, it's like this, like
Like
the magic, it does this. Here, it doesn't do that,
a
right?
Watson.
Everyone knows the magic system. Like, they don't care if the reader doesn't know it. You have to figure it out. And then, right until now, I still don't grasp it. Like the Warrens and the decks, there's like, and then the
Mhm.
gods that are, it's crazy. I think, yeah. But then eventually they said, as you read, you're able to, it's gonna become epic. So the tricky thing is like from what I hear, it kind of like this is supposed to be the worst book in the 10 book series, Gardens
Ooh,
of the Moon. This is supposed to be the worst, and then it gets
better.
overly epic as you move towards book
Nice.
10. Yeah. But of course, this one, yeah, you don't need that. This is already book one of Stormlight Archive is insanely epic. So yeah, I kind of want to read this, yeah, next year. But in any case, yeah, I just want to show this. So this we discussed this Are you guys available like towards like the end of December or something?
Yeah.
Today is December 17th.
December. Yeah, I'm good with the end of December.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, like 30 or
Maybe
31 or something like 31 is a Sunday, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if the signal will be
December.
good towards New Year. Maybe yeah.
Yeah.
If not, yeah,
Early,
maybe we can do it early January,
Early
early week of
yeah,
January.
January is fine as
January. I
well.
think maybe first week of January would
Yeah,
be.
for first week of January is fine as well. So yeah, Gardens of the Moon is very good. There's a character here that the one that I showed you, Anomander Rake. He's like a combination of Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII and uh The Witcher. Uh
Ooh.
it's like that's how I imagine it. Every time I see him, okay, here's Sephiroth plus what's the name of the guy from Gerard? The Witcher.
Yeah, Gerald.
Geralt.
Gerald.
Geralt
Geralt, yeah.
Rivia.
It's like, okay, here comes the Sephiroth Geralt hybrid. That's how I imagine it. But it's good. Yeah. I like so I'm almost done. I'm like, and then maybe I'm gonna review it using the audiobook. The audiobook looks to be epic as well. Okay.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, so that's like the discussion, guys, of let me show it again. So if you want, it's found in a lot of anthologies of Isaac Asimov, but this is my favorite location of it, the Science Fiction Hall of Fame. So this is like
Yeah.
a very nice sampling of a classic science fiction that defined how science fiction is, as we know it today. All right. And with
Yeah.
that, yeah, hopefully the our very nice backdrop will be recorded. So this is like, as you can see in our background, this is how they saw it when the eclipse happened, and then they went crazy, right? When they saw that there were there were a lot of stars in Lagash. Okay. But in any case, yeah, I think I can now stop the recording. So thanks again, Barry and Francis, for the discussions of Nightfall. Okay. So I think I can end the recording here in 3, 2, 1. Stop.